Good morning, everyone, and happy Tuesday. I hope that we are going live this week. We all know that we had a little bit of trouble last week with Rhonda, so hopefully you guys can all see us. It looks like I've just gotten the button on LinkedIn that says that we are now live, so we are live this week. Woohoo! Anyways, happy Tuesday, everybody. My name is Sarah Barnes-Humphrey. I am the founder and host of Let's Talk Supply Chain podcast, the diversity podcast called Blended, and the CEO of Ships. And so I hope you guys are all having a great week so far. We are going to go over what you can expect on Let's Talk Supply Chain coming up this week. And then I'm going to be bringing up my guest, Audrey Ross, who is here with us today. And we are actually going to be celebrating her. She's in the background right now going, what? Anyways, let's talk about what's happening this week on Let's Talk Supply Chain. So this week's episode, I sat down with Matt McGregor, EVP over at Colliers, and we talked all about commercial real estate from an e-commerce standpoint. We also talked about what the future of work is going to look like from an office perspective. And he has got some interesting things to say. So I definitely think you guys should all go and check out that episode. It's episode 188, wherever you listen or subscribe to the Let's Talk Supply Chain podcast. Again, we also have this category filter right here that you can go on to letstalksupplychain.com under podcasts, and you can actually look for the episodes based on a category that you're looking for. I have interviewed so many solutions in supply chain. And so if you've got a challenge that's happening right now in your supply chain, you're looking for a solution, definitely hit up that category filter button and go and check out some of the episodes that we have there. Next, we've got a mini series right now happening with Apex. This is the last week. We're going to be releasing the fourth and final episode this Thursday afternoon. And we've talked about so many amazing things on this mini series. So if you haven't checked it out, it's episode 182, 184, and 187. Wherever you subscribe to the podcast. The first one, we talked about Apex Cares, so sustainability. The second one, we talked about people and how important people are to the organization and how important they are to your organization. And then in the third episode, we talked about breaking ground, which was great. I had an awesome conversation with Beth. So go and check that out. What else do we have going on? Oh, I am going live twice today. That's right. I am live right now for Thoughts and Coffee. And then at noon today, head over to Susan Walsh's LinkedIn page because we are doing round 2 live from the Data Den at noon Eastern today. And I'm going to be talking with all of the women that we spoke to. Well, actually, we're missing a few. And we're going to miss them dearly. I know Anna's not going to be able to join us today, but we did part 1, I think a couple of weeks ago, maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago. And so we're going to bring the gang back together to talk about that. What else do we've got going on? I know that I am going to be hosting a keynote presentation tomorrow at the Demand Driven Technologies User Conference, which I'm super, super excited about. And that's pretty much it of what's happening this week. We need to bring Audrey up to the stage. Good morning, Audrey. How are you?
Good morning. I'm good.
Good. So before you introduce yourself, I am going to let everybody know that it's your birthday next Monday and you're not joining me on Thoughts and Coffee next Tuesday. So the only time that I can celebrate you in public is right now. So I just want to wish you a happy birthday. I hope you have an amazing day on Monday. I think you and I are going to get together for lunch. And this is your second quarantine birthday.
It is my second quarantine birthday. That is true. Thank you so much for the birthday wishes.
Of course. Of course. It's just too bad that you're not on next week. Otherwise, we could have celebrated a little bit closer to your birthday. But either way, I just wanted to make sure that we celebrated you here on Thoughts and Coffee today. All right. Do you want to do a quick introduction for everybody that might not know you?
Sure. So it's my birthday on Monday, and I'm an Aries. I an in-house specialist at Orchard Custom Beauty. So I do logistics and customs in-house, international trade. Right now I'm struggling with a little EU to UK delivery. So my day is always something different. But we specialize, we're an award-winning B2B private labeling company that specializes in cosmetics and beauty accessories. So that's
Awesome.
kind of what I do.
Look, all these people are saying happy birthday. Rhonda says happy birthday. Davin says happy birthday.
Oh, nice.
Awesome. And we're saying hi to everybody who is joining us here on the comments. Plus, I'm super excited because the last 2 weeks, this has not worked on my personal LinkedIn. We are now officially live on my personal LinkedIn page this morning. Whoop, whoop. Anyways, very, very exciting. Very exciting. We've got Janet who's saying hello from Ireland. Peter says good morning to both of us. And TJ is on the line over there as well, saying good morning. So good morning to everyone. We are so happy to see you here. What are we talking about now? I'm so distracted with your birthday and wanting to celebrate you. I don't even know what we're supposed to talk about today. I think we've got a question of the week, right?
Yeah.
What is it?
Question of the week. I think it's, what changes have you made to your supply chain?
No, actually, I know what happened. I was supposed to send you the question of the week, and then I didn't.
I don't think I have it.
Because I just found it the other day and totally forgot to send it to you. So the question is, what conferences are you excited about for 2021? And are you going to go back to in-person conferences? So every single Wednesday morning. Yeah, every single Wednesday morning on the Let's Talk Supply Chain, LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, we ask a question of the week of the community. But because we're live on Thoughts and Coffee, we also give you a little bit of a sneak peek and we ask us what about the question of the week. So that one is all about the conferences for 2021. So is there any conferences that you plan to attend, virtually or in person, that you're looking forward to?
I haven't seen anything for the fall yet. So no, I haven't really. I've got a couple of things still in the spring that are going to be virtual. I do know quite a few Americans are going to be running conferences September, October, November, like in person. But their vaccine program seems to be really ahead of the game. So yeah, especially ours. But ours is coming. My grandfather just got his job on Saturday. My grandmother's going tomorrow. So they're in their 80s. So that checks off the 80s.
Yeah, actually, my
so
dad.
That's close to us.
Well, no, my dad got his, and he's 70 something. So
okay, good. So we're moving along.
You might kill me. Anyways, and my nephew might be watching. So hi, Hendrix, if you're watching. Anyways, so for me, I've actually been asked to do a live stream from Imagine in September that I believe is going to be in Arizona. And so that's going to be in person. So I'm definitely going to be working towards getting my vaccine because obviously I can't go unless I have the vaccine, but really, really excited for that. Laura Ciceri puts that conference on every single year and she's got some amazing, amazing speakers. And so we're working on a couple of things of what I can do in person from that conference. So very excited for that one for me. So if you guys have any conferences that you're looking forward to attending or that you'd like to attend, make sure to put that into the comments today while we have our chat, or, you can always comment on the question of the week that we pose tomorrow all over social media. We are getting a ton of comments about vaccines. So Ron is talking about vaccine open to anyone 18 and older in Arizona. Wow. Yeah. And who else? So Simon says he got his vaccine yesterday. All right, great. So, and then Rhonda's saying there's not as many people getting their vaccine, but I mean, I guess we'll have to see about that. And then Davin actually asks if he can stow away in my suitcase. Well, get your vaccine, Davin. Get your vaccine. We can talk. I don't know about my suitcase, but
it might be so full of shoes.
All right. Yeah. Well, you know me so well, Audrey. I think wherever I go, I do buy a couple of pairs of shoes, and four
pairs of shoes and a Davin. There you go.
All right, let's talk about my thoughts and coffee post from Sunday.
Oh, it's so good.
So we were talking about this last week on Happy Hour about when was the 1 year, right? You had said March 23rd was the 1 year because I had started happy hour on a Monday and a Thursday.
Yeah.
And then I had said April 3rd because that was kind of the official on a Thursday. But I think you're right with March 23rd. So I went ahead and wrote a post about 1 year ago, because really it's around this time 1 year ago that everything really started to turn upside down, and we really started to hear more about lockdowns and what that meant for us and what that meant for our businesses and how things were changing and how many things we had to move around to be able to really get through this pandemic. And a couple of things went through my mind, right? How can I bring people together digitally? And the other one was, how do we make sure the community was okay? Because the first thing around lockdown that you think about, and Rhonda's going to probably cheer me on this one, is mental health, right? Yeah. Mental health around being locked down and what this pandemic meant and all the uncertainty. I think the uncertainty was really a driving factor on the mental health. And so about a year ago, I had started both the Buddy Check and Happy Hour, and they have changed my life forever. I mean, the Buddy Check, I love doing. But people are asking me for it if they don't see it, which is incredible because it really means that it made a difference while we were in lockdown. So what did you think of the posts?
Oh, I loved it. I think too, we had been in person at our last event that first week of March, and we'd met a couple of people who ended up joining us on Happy Hour and like now are our dear friends. And so I think it sort of, we wanted to keep in touch with these people who we'd had this strange bubbled canceled encounter with, and we have. And so I think that's the thing. I think all of us, even through virtual, have been able to stay connected with people in a different way. Virtual does allow for more global connections. So yeah, I think it's been nice to reflect on everything about this sort of 1 year milestone, whether from positive to negative to we have to acknowledge that there's been a lot of changes and that it really was, such an uncertain and fearful time. And I think there still is, while there's a lot of positivity on the horizon regarding vaccines, there still is, the fact that there are these variants and cases and what are the changes to our lives that are going to remain. But I hope the global friendships and all of our connections and our buddy checks and everything, I hope that stays.
Yeah, no, it definitely is. I mean, I had decided to move Buddy Check to once a month, and then I got blasted by a few people that they wanted to see it more often. So I'll definitely be doing it more often. I think Sarah Scudder is going to take it the first Friday of the month. I'm going to be doing it the third Friday of the month as we get back to opening up and getting normal. Our new normal. We're gonna reduce it, but we're still definitely gonna have it. But some of the comments that came out of it was really about the amazing connections and people that everyone have made online, and you haven't met them in person. No. A lot of times with a lot of these new connections, you haven't even met in person, and that didn't happen. Yeah, and that didn't just happen, in the spaces that I had created. That has happened in spaces all over the place, which is really incredible to see.
Yeah. And I think people opening up, people just being honest about, the challenges of it. I haven't seen people try to put on the fake, we're pushing through and it's great and it's no problem. Like it's just, a hurdle. It's like people are being honest and it has exposed, a lot of sort of cracks in some of our systems as to like, why do we do things this way? We've made it maybe so hard on ourselves and hard on others instead of having more compassion. And I think this really has given a lot of people permission to have more compassion and more flexibility that they, maybe felt before the pandemic they couldn't have, like that the system was too rigid or that their experience was too rigid. So that it's been amazing to see the transition.
Yeah, I just want to give a shout out to people over on my personal LinkedIn. Rose says, hello both and happy birthday from England. Peter says Quebec is only at 60 years of age for the vaccine. Sue says she got her vaccine on Saturday. She needs to be travel ready. I am so with you, Sue. I need a beach ASAP. Christina, good morning, all. Happy birthday, Audrey. Erin says good morning and happy birthday. Bonnie is getting her vaccine on Thursday, which is amazing. And Kevin says good morning. And Moaz says morning from Egypt. So thank you so much for everybody for joining us today. All right, now we're going to get into our supply chain topics. And we have got some good ones. What are we talking about first? Oh, that's right. Because Audrey's with me today. We are talking about Eric Johnson's latest newsletter. So the question that I'm going to pose to you pose to the audience while we're talking about this article is, what does digital transformation mean to you? And one of the reasons why I'm asking that is because in the beginning of the newsletter, he asks, do you consider technological differentiation to be more about the system a company uses or the way it uses a system? So I'd love to know from the audience what it is that digital transformation means to you, because that poses a really interesting question. Everybody thinks about it differently. Is it the technology that we're using? Is it the software that we're using? Is it the integration and how we're using the system and how we're bringing different components together? I mean, that's an amazing question. What did you think of the article, Audrey?
Well, I think it's his 31st, and it's just another, that insight button cannot get hit hard enough on LinkedIn. You're just like, oh, I didn't think of it that way. Yeah, no, it's fabulous. And I think, he really breaks down to the idea of customer facing versus operational technology.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of where I had a lot of thoughts, right? So, his last sort of thought is the outside software a facilitator or an inhibitor to success? And I think really sometimes we see all these technologies coming in and, we want to improve our productivity or improve our business, but what are we improving it for? So if I have more time to spend, what can I spend it on? And I think sometimes we forget that, for a lot of us, we're business to business. So, they're business to customer. But what is your customer service like? So I think in looking at the carriers are getting into these platforms, 3PL is changing, were they doing it in-house or they're not doing it in-house? But ultimately, what are your customer service goals and how can you improve your customer service? And what tools do you need to facilitate that? And sometimes I think we get a bit distracted by everything else. And also the technology can't be all things. We really maybe expected that one technology was going to come in and completely transform how our business worked. And the reality is it's going to be a few different pieces of technology, but we do have to have, again, that the focus. What is this for? Is it customer? How can we improve our customer service? What are we using this for? So yeah, I mean, my thinking too, my perception of all of these, the questions that he was asking is that, hiring out your technology instead of building it in-house is a strategy. And unless you're someone like a Jaguar or, some of the other really notable ones that have, really made an emphasis on their technology, maintained it, kept it up, really have a niche for it, maybe hiring out is your best strategy here. So
a couple of things. Yeah, a couple of things came out of this for me, and what you're talking about totally relating to that. Yeah. I think, 3PLs traditionally did, have their own proprietary software for the most part, and it helped them in the beginning. But as the internet boomed and as we moved forward into technology and technology solving multitude of challenges that we were having in logistics itself, it was kind of hard to keep up with, and everybody had their own proprietary software. And so it didn't end up being a differentiator. No. Some of the things that 3PLs have traditionally had challenged with, obviously technology and marketing. Where do you put your resources? Where do you put the money? But I think the most important question here is, what type of company are you? Yeah. Are you a service company? Because 3PLs traditionally are service businesses. Or are you a tech company? And so is it better for you to put your resources into the business and outsource the things, or buy the different technologies that you can bring to integrate to make that whole system? Or are you focused on technology that's going to enable you to be a technology company? Because I don't think you can be both. I don't think that you have
Wow.
the resources. I don't think that you have the money to be able to do both. And so you've got to be able to pick. You can have technology as a service provider, right?
Yeah.
But I think that if you're going to have your own technology, it makes you a technology and less a service provider. So I think it really comes down to
Yeah.
how you think about yourself and how you think about your business.
And ultimately, how are you serving your customers? Because if your customers want certain things,
Yeah.
there's no point pretending that you can deliver it or waste money on it, investing in tech that you're like, I can't really manage all of this. Like, you might as well hire it out. You might as well, have that integration from a technology company and do that collaboration.
Yeah.
It's, most 3PLs, it's like they're too small. Like, they need to focus on what they're really good at, which is managing, the end customer, that last mile, or that overview piece or the strategy piece of what tools could you use as a BCO to improve your,
Yep.
your logistics, not build, I'm going to build a technology platform, right? So no,
Yep.
it's fascinating from Eric.
So some of the comments over on my personal LinkedIn, Bonnie says for us, it's launching e-commerce on Amazon and our site, ramping up
Huh?
SEO. Magali says redesigning supply chain and opening new opportunities in goods movement. Peter says
Yeah.
digital transformation to me means slow things down initially through the learning curve, then it speeds up in time. And top is picking the correct solution for your needs. Absolutely, absolutely. Love all of this. And Nick Romer is there. Hey, Nick. We've got a couple of new faces over on my personal LinkedIn. All right. Next topic. We are talking about Volkswagen and gigafactories. I saw this out of, I think, who is this? This is it's TI Insights. I think it's Transportation Insights. It
Yeah.
doesn't actually say on this page. I wish it did. But this article came out of their newsletter. Volkswagen's gigafactories are a supply chain statement, which I thought, just by reading the title of this article, I thought was amazing. And the question that I'm going to ask the audience is, who will win? And the reason why I'm asking you that is because in this article, they talked about how Volkswagen is creating this gigafactory to produce batteries in Sweden. And so they're taking the approach of vertical integrating supply chains, which is not necessarily a traditional approach, but it is an approach from the last decade, right? Then you've got Foxconn, who is looking to move into manufacturing, or looking to move into automotive, and they're
Yeah.
looking to open factories in the US and Mexico to be able to get into automotive, and they're looking at flexible supply chain.
Yeah.
So what they ask at the end of this article is, who's going to win? Vertically integrating supply chains with Volkswagen or flexible supply chains with Foxconn? So who do you think is going to win? This article doesn't know, and it says only time will tell. But I think it's a really interesting question.
When it
Audrey?
dives into, kind of different approaches. Like, seemingly Volkswagen wants to have, just that extra amount of control, because they've, in order to facilitate these battery manufacturing, they've entered into a joint venture with Northvolt. And then the plan is to build 6 additional factories in the next 10 years. So it's really that control,
Yeah.
right? And keeping it in-house. Foxconn is all about collaboration and who else can do this? Who can I partner with? Who can, so that's something we all have to think about in our supply chains. Do I want to control it in-house?
Mm-hmm.
What do I want to control in-house? Why do I need to do that? And ultimately, does it have to be such an extensive, does it have to be a joint venture or you own it? Or, can you have just better alignment moving forward because your goals are the same? Like, I'm assuming, Apple's quite a, good partner of Foxconn. So, is partnership a better strategy? And then if you have similar alignments, then really all you need is a great contract. So,
Well, and if you think about it, so we talked about Apple, I don't know, a while ago, I think like 6 weeks ago, looking
yeah,
at India and
Yeah.
opening up manufacturing in India, not
Yeah.
only to diversify its manufacturing, but also because it's a new consumer base for them.
Yeah.
And so you can see the difference in mindset, right? There's a reason why Foxconn is a good partner for Apple. And I think it's because obviously they're both looking at, diversifying manufacturing. They're looking at moving manufacturing, right? I mean, Foxconn opening up in the US and Mexico is a pretty big deal. And
Yeah.
Apple opening up in India. So the two mindsets of the flexible supply chains obviously align really, really well. And then you've got Volkswagen, who's like, no, I need to keep a tight handle on this. We need to be able to control our supply chain. But what happens if something like a COVID happens again?
Yeah.
Does flexible win out or does the control win out? I don't know.
Well,
Because
that's
everybody had that vertically integrated supply chain going into COVID.
yeah.
And now they're talking about diversifying manufacturing. And they're looking at different options. And what does our supply chain strategy?
Well, and that aspect of it seems like, Volkswagen is making it a hub into Europe, and then they're going to distribute their goods elsewhere. But what happens when, they're like that winter storm in Texas and you can't get, some of the raw ingredients that you need? What happens when there's a COVID and everybody's trying to ship everything everywhere? So the strategy of Apple, and I think it started with the tariffs, but it, gives you that
Probably.
agility. It gives you agility for when there is a pandemic or another sort of climate event.
Mhm.
But Apple had, we've heard them talk about how they want to have more local, or at least finishing closer to where the end consumer is. And they're really looking at their last mile, not just on, okay, the finished product is now in the US or Mexico or India or wherever your large consumer base is, but maybe half of it's half finished and now it's closer to market. So every single, we can see these big companies, the strategy seems to be, how can we get this closer to the consumer faster? And still no 3D printing though.
I know. That's still not in the cards on any of these articles. Well,
It's
I
still
think
not a thing. I don't know.
AJ, who's in the back end, let's make a note of this article. Maybe we'll run a poll and see what everybody's going to say about who's going to win, whether it's flexible or vertically integrated. We've got a lot of people on the flexible side, but I'd love to hear from the community. So I think
Well,
that
flexible
might
sounds good.
It sounds good.
Vertically
Well,
integrated sounds complicated. I don't know what.
Well, and I also think, we've heard the word agility and flexible and resilience how many times over the last year? So, all right. So, we're going to run a poll hopefully later on this week, maybe around this topic, so we can hear everybody's thoughts and perspectives. We've got about 3 minutes left. We've got one more topic that I wanted to talk about, and that is because World Water Day was yesterday. And I think it's really important to talk about. I think that obviously with the SDG goals, right, the Sustainable Development Goals, this one is number 6. And that goal is to have water and sanitation for all by 2030. So my question to the audience is, what does water mean to you? Are you mindful when you use it? Are you thinking about it in terms of, length of time that we're here on this planet and how much water we need to be able to survive and do things on our daily basis? I know for me, yesterday really opened my eyes as to how water is being used and what it means for us moving forward. And, Audrey, I'm going to turn it over to you because I know fashion is a really huge contributor and you are really into fashion. You're on the board of FGI, Fashion Group International for Toronto. And I mean, just the jeans that we talked about a couple of weeks ago, there's a ton of water. So what did you think?
It's a massive it's such a good day to remark on, because the amount of water that's used, especially in fashion, is just, it's unbelievable how much is consumed just in the production. Like they talk about, what, I don't know, 80 million gallons for one pair of jeans. So it's really an industry that needs an overhaul, and it's thinking of how it's using this resource, because ultimately, and if it's not regulated, they're polluting drinking water. So then the rest of us, are suffering, through this pollution. So it's certainly a hot topic. And it's, it's kind of crazy that, when I was born, since my birthday is next week, I can reflect a little. Since I was born, it's been a thing, like people not having clean drinking water. You're like, how did we get into the 21st century and people don't have clean drinking water? Like, get
Right.
on it. Let's get this done. And yeah, if your supply chain is using something that's like a natural resource like that, and it's really kind of ruining it, again, why are we doing this? We need that transformational thinking, and that improved thinking, and not just how can I sell a quick pair of jeans. Like, we need to do a bit better. So
Yeah. Yeah. So I think, targeted at the fashion industry, but I think also as we go through our day to day, just being
yeah.
mindful of how much water we're using and what we're using it for, and maybe how we can reduce it. Because at the end of the day, it's really all about just getting started and how we can contribute to what's going on in the world. And that's one of the reasons why I wanted to bring up World Water Day, because I thought it was extremely important. Well, we are at the end of our show for today. It always goes by so quickly. Thank you so much to everyone who joined us over on social media, over on my personal LinkedIn page. Love you all. I hope you guys have an amazing, amazing week ahead. Next week, I've got the logistics matchmaker on the show, Shauna. She is going to come and talk to us all about what she's doing. We're going to be talking about some more hot topics. And so we can't wait to see you then. Have a great week, everyone. Thanks so much for